As fuel prices keep climbing, the excise base is shrinking, and now the Albanese government is actively modelling exactly how much EV drivers will pay per kilometre to keep roads funded. Is a fair national road user charge finally on the table, or are we heading for another constitutional headache? We'll unpack every design option and legal reality in a moment, plus the full no-compromise specs on the 10 cheapest EVs you can actually buy today, Mazda's big hint on a Chinese electric ute, the first look at the electric BMW M3, what's coming to the 2026 Melbourne Motor Show, the recall headache for converted F-150 Lightnings, MG's SolidCore battery leap, JAC Hunter's plug-in hybrid real efficiency numbers, and Victoria's fresh freight grants. This is Plugged in Australia. Welcome to episode 38 of Plugged in Australia, your no-nonsense, fact-first look at the electric vehicle landscape right here in Australia. Today is Thursday, the 26th of March 2026, and I'm your host Jamie. With fuel prices still feeling the pressure from global events and EV sales continuing to climb, the big stories today are all about how the transition is being managed, what's affordable right now, and what exciting tech is just around the corner. And as we do on every episode, I like to go into all the details, all the specifications, all the different tiers, and make sure that we know exactly what that means for us here in Australia. Let's dive straight in. The Albanese government is actively modelling a national road user charge for electric vehicles as part of a broader tax reform that could be outlined in the May federal budget. Treasury staff have been examining options including GPS-based telematics inside the vehicle or a simpler annual odometer reading submitted at registration time, with government sources confirming the work is no secret and builds directly on Treasurer Jim Chalmers' earlier statements about accelerating planning for a modest EV road user charge. Now at present, petrol and diesel drivers pay a national fuel excise of 52.6 cents per litre after the 2026 CPI indexed rise from 51.6 cents. A figure forecast to raise around $7.3 billion from petrol and $17.6 billion from diesel this financial year. Yet none of that revenue is hypothecated back into road funding. It flows into consolidated revenue. As EV uptake grows, with 103,270 full battery electric vehicles sold in Australia in 2025, representing 8.3% of the new car market, and even as internal combustion engines continue to become more efficient, the excise revenue base is trending down over time, creating what experts call the fuel excise cliff that becomes a real budget headache. Australia has already seen state-based distance charging attempts run straight into constitutional limits. In October 2023, the High Court struck down Victoria's distance-based charge on zero and low-emission vehicles, ruling it was quote-unquote duty of excise that only the Commonwealth can impose. That decision casts a long shadow over the standalone state tax and means any future road user charging will almost certainly need a national framework or federally authorised structure that states can administer without stepping into excise territory. New South Wales has already published a detailed road user charge schedule for 2025 to 2026, with specific cents per kilometre rates for battery EVs and plug-in hybrids, indexation mechanisms, and a planned start date of 1 July 2027 or when EV market share hits a defined threshold. Yet its final form will need to coexist with the Vanderstock constitutional reality. New Zealand provides a practical benchmark. It has removed fuel excise for most vehicles and moved to a weight and distance road user charge covering petrol, diesel, electric and plug-in hybrids with full rollout targeted for 2027. The Australian Electric Vehicle Association has long advocated for a universal mass by distance system that will eventually replace fuel excise entirely. AEVA National President Dr. Chris Jones has stated that with the National Vehicle Efficiency Standard now in force and EV sales projected to exceed 30% by 2030, an effective and equitable national charging regime is essential. The measured view is that EV drivers will end up contributing through some form of road user charging. That is almost inevitable as fuel excise becomes less fit for purpose. However, the design must be universal, transparent, and staged rather than singling out EVs as they first and only target. A fair model would scale charges by vehicle mass because road wear is not evenly distributed and heavy vehicles do the bulk of damage. Practical options range from a simple odometer-based annual charge. Now this one would be straightforward to administer but unable to price congestion or distinguish road types, to location-aware telematics or GPS models, and this one would be more accurate, however raises privacy questions. Or a staged approach starting with odometer reporting and moving to optional location pricing for discounts. A public costing model from the Parliamentary Budget Office has previously described a road user charge pegged to the fuel excise an average passenger vehicle would pay based on typical fuel use per kilometre, producing a per kilometre figure in the ballpark of a few cents indexed over time with CPI. Now that is not a trivial annual bill. However, if applied universally and transparently, it is not an existential threat. If governments get the sequence wrong, taxing EVs extra while everyone else continues as is, they won't just tax EVs, they'll tax the entire transition. So with fuel prices still dominating the headlines, the practical question for many buyers is which full battery electric vehicle offers the cheapest entry into zero tailpipe motoring without turning into a daily compromise. So as of late 2026, the cheapest end of the Australian market is no longer a single oddball, but a genuine cluster. And competition is forcing better equipment, longer warranties, and stronger charging capability. So I'm going to go ahead and give you a complete up-to-date rundown of the 10 cheapest EVs on sale right now. All of these prices are current as of today, 26th of March, and obviously that's subject to change. So if you're listening to this a little bit later, you may just want to double check your pricing. I'll also make sure to give you all the power and torque figures, charging speeds, and all the important figures when looking at a new car, regardless of whether it's electric or not. All right, let's get into it. So starting at the absolute bottom is the BYD Atto 1, starting from $21,990 plus on roads in essential grade or $24,990 plus on roads in the premium. The base model uses a 30 kilowatt hour LFP battery, a 65 kilowatt front motor, and delivers 220 kilometers of WLTP range. The premium steps to a 43.2 kilowatt hour LFP pack with a 115 kilowatt motor and 310 kilometers of WLTP range. Both support 11 kilowatt AC charging, while peak DC varies by pack size. At 3,925mm long, 1,720mm wide, 1,580mm tall on a 2.5 meter wheelbase with a 345 litre boot, it is a genuine city EV. Rational if your driving is mostly metro with home charging. However, maybe a little patience testing on long motorway trips with modest DC speeds. Next cab off the rank is the BYD Dolphin from $29,990 plus on roads in Essential or $33,990 plus on roads in the Dynamic. The Essential offers around 340 kilometers WLTP with a smaller battery and modest motor. The Dynamic lifts to 150 kilowatt motor and up to 427 kilometers of WLTP range. Charging differences are meaningful. Larger packs support higher peak DC, and BYD's multi-year vehicle warranty plus long traction battery warranty keep it a default value pick for buyers wanting a quote-unquote normal car feeling. Our third car on the list is the GAC Aeon UT from $30,990 drive away, and that is a special that at the moment is valid until the 9th of April. It then will revert to $31,990 plus on roads. Every variant packs a 60 kilowatt hour LFP battery, 150 kilowatt front motor producing 210 newton meters of torque, 430 kilometers WLTP range, and a claimed 7.3 second 0 to 100 kilometers an hour. Dimensions on this one are 4,270mm long, 1,850mm wide, 1,575mm tall on a 2,750mm wheelbase with a 321 litre boot that obviously expands when you have your seats down. Charging is solid at 11 kilowatts AC and 87 kilowatt DC with a 30 to 80% time of 24 minutes. plus vehicle-to-load support, making it usable for families who refuse tiny car limitations. Our fourth one is another BYD, the Atto 2, Australia's cheapest electric SUV from $31,990 plus on roads in its dynamic or $35,990 plus on roads in premium. Now, they both share the same battery. It's a 51.3 kilowatt hour LFP blade battery. They have a 130 kilowatt front motor with 290 newton meters of torque, 345 kilometers on the WLTP range, and a 7.9 second 0 to 100 kilometers an hour. Charging is the compromise. It's only 7 kilowatts AC and 82 kilowatts DC with a 38-minute 10 to 80% claim. However, the compact SUV packaging and higher seating make it a strong one-car solution than the smaller hatches. The fifth one is the GWM Aura. That one is $35,990 drive away across the Lux and GT trims. It uses a 57.7 kilowatt hour LFP battery, a 126 kilowatt front motor, and 250 newton meters of torque, and up to 400 kilometers on the WLTP cycle. Performance sits around 9 seconds to 100 kilometers an hour, and the larger battery relative to price is a genuine dollars per kilowatt hour value point, even if peak DC is not class leading. The sixth one is the JQ J5 EV at $36,990 drive away at the moment. The 58.9 kilowatt hour LFP battery and 155 kilowatt front motor with 288 newton meters of torque deliver 402 kilometers of WLTP and 7.7 second 0 to 100. Charging is a strength at 10.3 kilowatts AC with obviously a three-phase, and up to 130 kilowatts DC with a 28-minute 30 to 80% claim. It has a panoramic sunroof, heated and ventilated seats, and wireless phone connectivity, though towing remains modest. Seventh is the Chery E5, which we used to call the Omoda E5, from $36,990 plus on roads in its urban or ultimate. The same 58.9 kilowatt hour battery and 155 kilowatt motor give 430 kilometers of WLTP, competitive DC up to 130 kilowatt, and a half hour 30 to 80% claim, plus one of the strongest vehicle and battery warranties in the tier that lowers long-term ownership risk. Eighth one is the Leapmotor B10 37888 plus on roads. Unusually, it's a rear-wheel drive with a 160 kilowatt motor and 240 newton meters of torque, offering a 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in around 8 seconds. Battery options are 56.2 kilowatt hours for a 422 kilometer WLTP, or 67.1 kilowatt hours for 516 kilometers WLTP. Charging is strong at 11 kilowatts AC and 140 to 168 kilowatts DC, depending on which battery pack you go for. Maserati engineered chassis tuning gives genuinely engaging dynamics. Ninth on the list is the MG4 from $37,990 drive away. Variants span the 51 kilowatt hour LFP pack to larger packs with single motor 125 kilowatt, 150 kilowatt, or a 180 kilowatt rear drive. And then there's the headline 300 kilowatt dual motor X-Power all-wheel drive, and ranges are anywhere from 405 to 590 kilometers WLTP. And some of these also achieve a 10 to 80% in 26 minutes on the DC charging. Sharp handling and aggressive warranty positioning make it a fantastic benchmark for value. And last but not least is the Hyundai Insta from $39,000 plus on roads. It's currently on sale at the moment for $35,990 drive away in some states, so check that out. Two options: 42 kilowatt hour for 327 kilometers WLTP, or 49 kilowatt hours for 360 kilometers, with 71 kilowatt or 84.5 kilowatt motors, and a 0 to 100 in about 11.7 seconds, or the 10.6 with the more powerful motor. Charging is practical at up to 10.5 kilowatt AC 3-phase and 120 kilowatt DC. And the dimensions on this one are 3,825 mm long, 1,610 mm wide, and 1,575 mm tall, with sliding rear seats. Across the board, the market is converging on a cost-effective, durable LFP packs, while differentiation shifts to charging speed, cabin space, warranty, and software. and buyers can now choose based on actual use case rather than settling for the least worst option. And it is worth noting that the average East Coast suburban driver, which is a good portion of the population, does 30 to 35 kilometers round trip for their daily commute. So, and a lot of these cars are definitely on the smaller side. They're generally not road tripping cars. I'm sure if push comes to shove and you need to jump in an Atto 1 to go from Sydney to Melbourne, you'll do it if you have to. But they're generally not road tripping cars. So that's why DC charging speed does not need to be crazy, and they're able to save some money on having a slower DC charging rate. That way they can focus on giving you a better value vehicle. Mazda's Australian executives have openly acknowledged that a Chinese-built electric ute could find a ready audience here. And the vehicle in question is the Deepal E07 multi-truck, a large coupe SUV style vehicle with a full-length opening rear window and flip-down tailgate that transforms it into a practical load carrier. Developed by Changan Mazda, the same joint venture ecosystem that already supplies the CX-6E for Australia. The E07 rides on Changang's SDA Pure electric platform and is offered in the home market with rear-wheel drive 252 kilowatt and 365 Newton meters, or all-wheel drive dual motor for 40 kilowatt 645 Newton meter versions, and the latter hits a 0 to 100 in 4 seconds flat. WLTP range is 550 kilometers for the rear-wheel drive, 510 kilometers for the all-wheel drive, with 800-volt architecture enabling up to 240 kilowatt DC charging and a 30 to 80% time in the 15-minute class, though AC is limited to 7 kilowatts. The vehicle measures over 5 meters long with 1.5 ton braked towing capacity, enough for light duty but well short of the 3.5 ton expectation set by diesel dual cabs and the forthcoming wave of electrified utes. General Manager of Changan Mazda's Technical Development Centre, Hiroshi Ozawa, told Australian media the concept is very interesting and that in Australia I think customers may also like that kind of vehicle, noting Mazda's only current ute is the diesel BT50 co-developed with Isuzu. Any future electric ute would sit alongside established rivals such as the BYD Shark 6, the GWM Cannon Alpha, and the forthcoming pure electric options from LDV and MG, giving Mazda buyers a zero-emission alternative in a market that still loves utes. The realistic assessment is that this would be a lifestyle crossover utility vehicle rather than a heavy-duty work ute. It's not engineered for the payload or off-road durability or low-range gearing that tradies and remote tourists will expect. If Mazda proceeds, the plausible outcome is a niche lifestyle EV competing on the edges of the ute market, and the key question is whether the partnership can deliver an Australian-proofed package that is durable, serviceable, and priced credibly. I'm not sure it's the best thing for Mazda to do. It's already being sold here as the Deepal E07, so you're going to end up with two cars that are exactly the same with different badging. I know that's happened in the past, but just doesn't seem feasible. They may wait till the next version and we'll see how we go. The first undisguised images of the future electric BMW M3 have surfaced, showing an aggressive front end with extended kidney grille housings that incorporate the headlights, flared guards, and a prominent power dome on the bonnet. Due in Australian showrooms in 2027 and badged either as the iM3 or M3 EV, it will use the Neue Klasse platform shared with the recently revealed i3 sedan and iX3 SUV. BMW has confirmed a quad motor layout, one motor per wheel, enabling genuine torque vectoring as a core hardware feature rather than software only. Output is expected well above 746 kilowatts, with the regular i350 xDrive already delivering dual motors at 345 kilowatts, 645 Newton meters of torque, 800 volt architecture and DC fast charging up to 400 kilowatts. The M3 variant will scale that dramatically, while sharing a battery pack expected to exceed 100 kilowatt hours, and BMW's new Heart of Joy central computing system that processes drivetrain, brakes, charging, recuperation, and steering 10 times faster than previous systems. WLTP range for the i3 is claimed up to 900 kilometers. The M3 will most certainly trade some of that for its blistering performance. Both petrol and electric next-generation M3 models will coexist, as long as regulations allow, with wagon variants planned. The petrol version uses an updated S58 inline 6 tuned for Euro 7. BMW is also planning simulated gear shifts and bespoke sound design to preserve an emotional driver rhythm, with the real Australian question being whether these can be turned off, because they're irritating, so the car still feels great in silent EV mode. From a local perspective, the electric M3 could reset expectations in the premium segment against the Model 3 performance. However, final Australian pricing and specifications remain months away. The spy shots confirm the aggressive styling direction is locked in and the car is now visually real. Alright, a little bit more information about the second year of the Melbourne Motor Show, which I mentioned a few episodes ago, and it's returning, as I said, to the Melbourne Convention and Exhibition Centre, and it will be on Friday the 10th of April to Sunday the 12th of April 2026, with doubled floor space, more than 40 aftermarket exhibitors and around 100 vehicles available for test drives. 20 new car brands have confirmed participation, including BYD, GWM, Honda, Isuzu Ute, Kia, MG, Tesla, Volkswagen and Zeekr. EV and plug-in hybrid highlights include the public debut of the new MG4 urban electric hatchback, the production version of the GAC Hunter plug-in hybrid ute, the GWM Tank 300 plug-in hybrid, Kia's EV9 GT performance flagship, and the Kia PV5 cargo van. MG has teased a sneak preview of a new small SUV likely to be the MG S6, and a next step is for its MG U9 ute that could be plug-in hybrid or pure electric. Honda will show the Prelude and Super One concepts, while Verizon will display its F3E and V7E vans. Tesla and Renault are expected to bring their latest models, such as the refreshed Model Y L and the Scenic E-Tech. Absent are Toyota, Ford, Mazda, Hyundai, Mitsubishi, Chery, and the German Premium Trio, though a Melbourne Mercedes-Benz dealership will still exhibit vehicles. Beyond the cars, the show features a Fast and Furious 25th anniversary exhibition, a Hot Wheels interactive zone with designer Phil Ryleman appearing, and test drive opportunities across EVs, hybrids, and ICE vehicles. Tickets are starting from $37.50 for adults or $99 for a family pass. For buyers shopping affordable EVs or plug-in hybrids, this is a rare chance to compare cabin space, driving position, boot usability, phone integration, and just a real quality feel, all in one day. The show timing amid fuel price volatility and road funding debate gives it an extra relevance as a barometer of where the local market is heading. A nationwide product safety recall has been issued for the 146 right-hand drive F-150 Lightning conversions performed by Queensland converter Ausevs between 2022 and 2025. The defect centres on the combined charging system, so the CCS2 charge port, where increased electrical resistance during high-powered DC fast charging can cause the internal pins to overheat. Owners are advised to avoid DC fast charging entirely and only use AC charging until the vehicles are inspected and rectified free of charge. Direct contact with overheated pins immediately after charging carries risk of burns or serious injury. The recall notice lists affected VINs and instructs owners to contact their preferred Ausev dealership. However, Ausev's parent company, Bosscap, entered receivership on the 17th of March 2026. The Ausev's website no longer loads, and attempts to reach the company by phone or email have failed. It remains unclear where or how the recall will be completed. Ausevs had specialised in importing US-built Lightnings and converting them to right-hand drive for fleets, including Brisbane Airport and BHP. The company's collapse was blamed on Ford's decision to discontinue the electric F-150 Lightning globally in December of 2025. This story highlights the higher ownership risk of aftermarket conversions when the conversion lacks deep capital, stable supply agreements, and clear recall pathways, a practical lesson for Australian maturing EV market where factory right-hand electric utes are thin on the ground. MG Motor has announced its new SolidCore semi-solid state battery technology, claiming to be the first automaker to achieve mass production of the chemistry for global markets. Replacing much of the volatile liquid electrolyte with a solid-state version, SolidCore uses a lithium manganese oxide cathode protected by a semi-solid electrolyte layer that is only 5% liquid, compared with 20% in a conventional NMC or LFP pack. The benefits include higher energy density, faster charging, improved safety, better longevity, and markedly stronger performance in cold weather, with MG stating that chemistry allows vehicles to start instantly without preheating and delivers up to 15% faster charging than equivalent LFP batteries in low temperatures. The company is targeting 1,000 kilometers real-world range potential in the near future and plans to roll the technology out across European EV lineup from late 2026. Locally, the new MG4 Urban Electric Hatchback is the most likely early recipient down under. At the same time, MG has upgraded its Hybrid Plus plug-in hybrid system already used in the MG3, ZS and HS in Australia. New software sharpens responsiveness and refinement. A new 3-speed hybrid transmission improves drivability, and an 8-mode logic engine plus a terrain-sensing hybrid control unit adapt power and delivery in real time. The system now features a larger 1.83 kilowatt high-capacity battery for extended electric running. With 137,000 hybrid sales across Europe in 2025 alone, that's a 300% jump, and strong Australian demand for the HS plug-in hybrid, these upgrades position MG to keep delivering affordable, efficient electrified vehicles that suit local driving conditions. And without public pack sizes or model-specific Australian deployment dates, this remains a technology announcement rather than a consumer product announcement. But it matters because MG has a direct, cheap EV pipeline into Australia. JAC has released official efficiency and range numbers for its new Hunter plug-in hybrid ute, scheduled to reach Australian showrooms mid-2026. The plug-in hybrid uses a 2-litre turbo petrol engine paired with front and rear electric motors, producing a combined 385 kilowatt and 1,000 newton meters of torque from a 31.2 kilowatt hour LFP battery. Now, on the NED cycle, the Hunter returns a combined 1.6 litres per 100 kilometres and a total electric plus petrol driving range of 1,000 kilometres, with pure electric range expected to exceed 100 kilometres. That's nearly double the Ford range of plug-in hybrids figure. The battery size is large enough to provide a genuine EV mode experience in normal commuting, and vehicle-to-load output is quoted at 3.3 kilowatts for tradies or use on a campsite. The ute is already being tuned for Australian conditions by Segular Technologies at the former Holden Lang Lang Proving Ground in Victoria, with engineers focusing on durability, powertrain calibration, towing and payload performance, on and off-road dynamics, acceleration, braking and the ADAS systems. Pricing and final Australian specifications are still to be confirmed. However, JAC Australia Managing Director Ahmed Mahmoud says it will arrive at the right price to compete directly with the BYD Shark 6, GWM Cannon Alpha and the Ranger plug-in hybrid. Towing and payload are expected at 3.5 tonne and around 1 tonne respectively, and buyers should wait for confirmed compliance plate figures rather than marketing targets. The Victorian Labor Government has opened applications for 2 new grant programs worth a combined $9.5 million to help freight operators switch to low and zero-emission vehicles, charging infrastructure and supporting technology. The Freight Decarbonisation Co-Investment Program totals $8 million with grants of up to $300,000 for small and medium freight businesses that move goods by road or rail using a co-investment model that requires recipients to contribute. Alongside that is a separate $1.5 million Victorian electric heavy vehicle trial delivered in partnership with the Victorian Transport Association to give businesses real-world experience with electric heavy vehicles. The expressions of interest for that one close in April of 2026. The initiatives are designed to cut fuel costs and emissions in an industry that is a major contributor to both addressing the biggest barriers of range under load, charging access, grid capacity at depots, driver acceptance and total cost of ownership. Full details of the funding streams, eligibility criteria and application process are available on the Victorian Government website, with the programs forming part of a broader push to decarbonise heavy transport in the state. Governments are framing freight decarbonisation as an economic resilience strategy, reducing dependence on volatile fuel supply, lowering operating cost exposure and modernising fleets that are essential to supply chains. And that's a wrap on episode 38 of Plugged In Australia. Big thanks for listening. Whether you're already driving an electric or you're still weighing up your options, the facts are crystal clear. We have more affordable EVs, more advanced battery tech, more policy focus, and more practical realities to navigate are all arriving right now. I hope you enjoyed the episode. A lot of specs, a lot of details for those cheaper EVs. I'd love your feedback. info@pluggedinaustralia.com.au. Or if you're listening on YouTube, pop a comment down below and let me know. I want to know whether you think that's too long. Is that too much information? Can I cut it down? Should I separate that into a separate podcast episode? Let me know. And until the next time, stay plugged in and stay charged. Cheer down.